Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our High Performing Athlete and Mental Health series. I am Dr. Lakendra Smith, the Health Sector Director of Project Transition under the leadership of Dr. Joaquin Wallace. Today, I have with me Miss Annmarie Walters, two-time fencing champ, representing USA Fencing. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm very excited, as you can tell, to have you here with us. I think you're the first fencer that we've had to participate in the interview process. So I did my best to introduce you. So why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers and our listeners?
Okay, my name is Annmarie Walters. I had started fencing at Brooklyn College in 1972, 73, and I was very successful at the beginning, having named three-time All-American at Brooklyn College, which is unheard of, is at a Division III school. And tried to make the Olympics in the 80s, didn't make it, and I basically had retired. And then my kids went to school, college, not home alone, but empty nesters. And I decided to volunteer at a YMCA to help kids in fencing. So I volunteered. And one day I said, let me start fencing. And I did remarkably well. I remember getting on the strip for the first time in about 15 years. And this 22-year-old, about 6'2", was supposed to be the best one on the strip. And I calmly to beat him 5-zip. And so I beat him. And so the referee saying, well, I'm not sure how old you are, but we have something called the veterans fencing, which was not around when I retired. And this is for 50, 40 and over. But when you get to 50, you go to a world championship that they have every year all over the world. They had just come back from Austria. And I love fencing and I love to travel. So it met both of my goals. So I promptly the next year went out for the team. This is 17 years ago and have made 17 world teams since then. So this year I am going to qualify to go to Dubai in October for the World Championships for veterans representing the 70-year-olds. So I just moved up. We have from the categories are 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, and the last group is 70 plus. So I'm just moving into my last group. So I'm excited.
That is awesome. So people are going to listen to this, and it's clear that I have a Southern accent. But you have an accent as well. Where are you from?
I was born in Trinidad in the Caribbean, and my family migrated in the 70s to New York. So ended up in New York high school and then ended up at Brooklyn College for my bachelor's degree.
So we have a few immigrants in our program. We have some first-generation immigrants, and that's an experience that a lot of people, especially if they're native here, don't understand. Can you talk us through your transition and how you navigated the waters of coming here from Trinidad and still being able to gather yourself and be successful?
Well, I'm always a fighter. And so when my family migrated here, it was a transition because I was in high school, trying to transition with the culture and stuff like that. Did pretty good with it, assimilated very well. And having graduated from high school then, didn't know what to do, end up with college, because that's not a natural for foreigners. You get high school, you go to work, at least in the 70s. So then the college was affordable at the time. And so I ended up going to college, meeting my coach, Janice O'Connor, which is two-time Olympian, was my coach. And that has to do a lot with my success, having the good foundation from the beginning.
Nice. So what decisions factored into you attending Brooklyn College?
Financially, at the time, it was the low-cost education. And at 18, didn't know what to do, so I went to college. It's work or go to college. I chose to go to college.
Good deal. You mentioned your coach being very instrumental in your success, right? And so here at Project Transition, we have a mentoring program called Project Success. And we understand the importance of mentorship and how, honestly, everyone needs mentorship, but how it's very pivotal to success. How instrumental do you believe mentorship is, or what other ways did your coach impact you specifically in your successes?
Well, I've been such a long period of time that I've been doing this. Early on, my coach actually recruited me. I used to play basketball and the whole team graduated, including Nikki Thomason Frank, who was a former Olympian, graduated from Brooklyn College, and they needed bodies. And with her skills, in 1 year, she got me ready for the national championships, which I ended up being third in the nation after months of fencing, which you can't do right now because the kids start at 7 years old. I started at 18. So having early mentorship and support and coaching included is really important for your success.
Nice. So I'll be honest, I don't know much about fencing. I see it on TV. It's very fast. It's very quick. I have zero idea what's going on. I have zero idea of what the score is, how it's being scored, who is able to score. So for individuals like me who don't have much exposure to fencing, give us fencing 101.
Okay, there are 3 weapons in fencing. There's saber, which is a target is from the waist up, including the hands. That's saber. Foil is the weapon I fence, which is the torso. So if you hit me in my legs, my arms, and my head, it's off target. It doesn't count. And the last weapon is called épée. And épée is from head to toe is target area. And in saber and foil, we have what is called right of way, which means that if I attack you and you defend me and then hit me, and we both hit, the person who defend or what's called a parry and hit me, you have to look the official to see their hands up to see who gets the touch. That helps, because if it's too light, you don't know who is awarded the touch. You look the officials to see if their hand is up, and typically that's the person who gets the touch. In épée, it's head to toe. You hit the head, you hit the toe, it's target area. If you both hit, you both get a touch. So if it's tied at the end of a bout, you have to get to 1 light or timeout, and then they have what is called priority. So you could be tied 14-14 and you don't hit, and the person who have a priority will get the match, the victory, but still 14 touches. You also have, typically, each tournament is different. In the tournament locally, typically, and nationally, they seat you according to your levels. And then you fence in a pool of 5, 6, or 7. And then you fence everybody in that group. Then they reseat you and you go directly into direct elimination. So in the pool is 5 touches, you get the 5 first win. In the DE, it gets to depend on the age. In the Olympic level, it's 15. In the veteran level, it is 10. They think we can't fence that long, but we got news for them. So it's 10 touches. So whoever gets the 10 first in my championships win the bout.
Good deal. That's awesome. In the most recent Olympics, Stanford University had the most athletes that medaled based on colleges, all sports. And so one of the big things that happened during COVID, I believe, is Stanford cut most of their Olympic sports. And so after this past Olympics, especially with the success of the USA team, they won the first gold, correct?
No, not the first gold. The women's event, in my event in foil, they won gold and silver, which is unheard of for the USA. It was the first time ever, and we had much success in women's foil.
Right, and so Stanford's argument is that the university needs to invest in its Olympic sports because clearly the data shows that they're successful. There's a need to invest. But I also think in some capacity, the investment or the lack of investment in the sport is also the reason why I'm here saying, hey, can you tell me about fencing? I don't know anything about fencing. So what do you think are barriers that prohibit people from entering and participating in fencing and picking it up early on as a sport, no different than a basketball or football? What barriers do you think are present?
Well, first of all, the biggest barrier, 2 barriers, is location, and financially. Location in a sport where when I first started, you're either on the East Coast or West Coast. That was your fencing. And so if you're in the middle of the country, you're not exposed to the sport. So exposure to the sport is one. And the other thing is it is very expensive financially to fence and to train hard and get coaches and club and stuff like that. So you have 2 big barriers. If you're poor, it's impossible to get into a program. Although we have 2 programs in the New York, New Jersey area. One of them is the Peter Westbrook Foundation, which most of our minority athletes, it has changed in somewhat, but used to come from that area where he has gotten funded and can train the athletes with very little expense to the athletes.
Well, that's nice. It's great that something like that exists. What do you think the barriers are to even developing implementable solutions to mitigating the exposure issue that fencing appears to have?
It has to be funding. Who can get funding to set up such a program that they have, and like Peter Westbrook did. I mean, he has taken all his money financially to start that he has gotten from his mom and started this foundation, and of course being successful. And he's a 4 or 5-time Olympian. And so he has a name behind him to start this program, to go to these organizations and got funding to help the inner city kids. So financially, it's a big step, having somebody who's dedicated and know where to go to get the funding and install a program such as the Peter Westbrook Foundation.
So what do you think the entry cost would be for an individual to begin?
Depending on the area and the coach, probably anywhere from $200 to $500 a month in club dues. That's just for training. And then the equipment is expensive. And then after the equipment, the entry fee, even entering tournaments are expensive. And then if you're successful, that means that you have to travel to go to regional or national tournaments. And again, you're talking about air and hotel and lodging and stuff like that. So it is a pricey, expensive sport.
So it's pricey and it's expensive, right? And so, but at some point, here it is, you're trying out for the Olympics and you're traveling and you're participating in these bouts. How did you overcome the financial barriers?
Well, mine is different because when I started in college and all my expenses was paid for. I had no idea that the sport was that expensive because the college took care of it. But right now, it's the parents. It's the one who, if the kid is interested or the parents want the kids to try a new sport, they are the one who are backing the kid depending on their demands and the area, location, etc. But after getting it, of course, I have a passion for fencing. So right now, I don't try to add up how much I'm spending. I just do it because that's what I love. I love fencing and I don't care what it is. I'm going to do it. I don't care the cost. So that's where I am right now because I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
Cool. So during your career fencing, you're still fencing, at any point in time, did you have any kind of mental health issues as a result of competition?
I am fortunate enough that I haven't. And I think that's one of my strengths in that being motivated and upbeat. I'm pretty upbeat, happy person. And so, I mean, mentally, especially fencing, you have to be motivated. You have to have the will to win. And that's what you and your coaches and your support team helps a lot, But individually, I have never had an issue mentally. I've always been mentally strong. And actually, as I said, that's one of my gifts. I may not be the better skilled fencer, but mentally I am very strong, and that usually takes me to the top.
Duly noted. The university that I attended undergrad, I'll shout them out, Henderson State University.
Okay.
It's on my LinkedIn for anybody who wants to know. But we had a volleyball coach, and one of the mantras for the volleyball team was MTXE, M, letter T, letter X, E. It was mental toughness, extra effort. What do you do to prep that keeps you mentally tough?
It's a dedication. Actually, my whole family knows that, the balancing of life, having a mother, a grandmother, a husband, a family, and other things in life, that my family knows that fencing is one of my priorities. So for instance, if my niece is getting married, it's like, okay, when is your tournament? I need to schedule my dates for wedding. So they know how important that it is to me to get to my tournaments, So having your family support, knowing that's what you like and they support you, it's really, really important, So having the schedule, training, they know that, days of the week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, whatever, that I'm not available after 4. Planning that's because I have to go to practice, and I practice about an hour away. I'm in Parkland, Florida, and my coach now is Rafael Suarez, and we're in Miami Beach. So it's a heck going there. So my day is over at 4 o'clock. Now that I'm retired, it's a little bit easier for me with my schedule, getting there and getting back. But you have to prioritize what you want to do. And if you want to be successful, you have to get into training. You have to get into the gym. You have to follow your coach's advice and follow through in what you have to do. I do a lot of cross training. Also, I've always been fit, and I do a lot of cross training when I'm actually not in the fencing studio, so that I can work on my other areas and aspects, flexibility, strength, etc., outside of fencing. So taking it seriously and dedicated for you to be successful. You can't do it this week and next week. It has to high prioritize if you want to be successful.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So we interviewed Miss White. She was an Olympian. I believe she participated in I can't remember the year. It was the Mexico City Olympics. Because I think Germany, may have been 72.
Right.
Yeah, and so she also is still very active in her experienced time frame of her life, right? That's what I called it. I won't say older age. In her experienced time of life. She actually participates in line dancing. And I think that's what she does to, just kind of stay active and stay fit. But I read your bio and I also noticed that you complete marathons.
Yes, yes.
Let's talk about this.
So after I stopped fencing, I moved to DC. My husband was running. He started doing the New York Marathon. And I was inspired by the runners because you see all shapes, forms of life, amputees, whatever, doing this marathon. And I got motivated. I'm like, I can do this. So I started off with a 5K and then a 10K, then a half marathon. And then I was right there in DC, which has the Marine Corps Marathon every year. So we started training for the Marine Corps Marathon. And so at that time, I wasn't fencing. I was retired from fencing. And so I started training. And, like anything else, I've always been an athlete per se and loved challenges. And so my husband and I trained and I completed 11 in a row, Marine Corps Marathon. After looking back, it was quite a feat. And I find it easier now to do half marathons. When I moved to Florida, I did a couple of half marathons. I did a 5K, but right now I'm just concentrating on focusing, running and mostly walking on my own for training, concentrating on my fencing. Because the year I came back, I did both. I would run 20 miles of training on Saturday, then I go to a competition on Sunday, and I say to myself, I'm doing too much for my body. I have to do something. So I eased up on the marathon and I focused more into fencing.
So what advice would you give anyone whose goal is to sustain longevity in life and sport?
Really, really important, especially at my age. When you're young, you train hard, you train as much as you can, your body can take it. But when you get older, you have to balance your body because our season goes from October to October. We really don't get a break because most Olympians and most fencers, except for the veterans, they break after a national competition in July. They don't start back till probably beginning of August. They do get a break there. For us, that's our high training area because we have our world championships in October. So what I do is I listen to my body, and after every big tournament, I take a break, rest my body, and then I regroup for the next tournament because your body at my age cannot go 12 months, So yes, I take intermittent breaks from fencing. I still train, I will walk, I run, but so that my body can heal and get ready for my next tournament. Really, really important. And I think that has helped with my injuries too. You can't go so far, so hard all the time. Your body has to rest at my age. And so I take intermittent breaks to help me for longevity.
So you just mentioned, I think a few questions ago, that you retired. How did you handle retirement? Like, how did you get to the mind frame that, okay, this is just it?
Well, I did 42 years of teaching, public school and university. And so I really wanted to enjoy life. Like I said, I travel a lot. I wanted to retire at 62 financially. My principal asked me to stay on to the end of the school year, so I retired at 63. It's always I don't want to work all my life. No, I got to enjoy my life. So I have prepared myself financially so I'm able to do that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I knew you were a teacher. I think I did know that you taught collegiately. Did you teach at Texas A&M? Did you teach fencing at Texas A&M?
I taught fencing at Texas A&M. My husband, Dr. Frank Walters, was getting his PhD at Texas A&M. And he went to the classroom and they had fencing. And he saw the clientele that was teaching fencing. So he went to the department. Here, I have my All-American wife who, almost made the Olympics. She's highly skilled. And so they hired me. And, they were doing more theatrical fencing. They needed help. So I went there, I taught there for 7-8 years at Texas A&M. I did fencing and then ended up doing other sports, being a physical education teacher with my master's, ended up teaching other sports and other things too. But they brought me in primarily for fencing. I got my bachelor's at Brooklyn College. I got my master's at Indiana State University in Terre Haute, Indiana.
So what motivated you to get an advanced degree?
Because my husband, he got one, and I want one too. Because he got his master's. When we got married, we both got accepted, but he went full-time, I went part-time at Indiana State. I didn't really plan my life that way. Everything happened to be along. I was very grateful and thankful. So he went to get his master's. I decided to apply. We both went to school. I part-time, full-time. And then I came back a couple of years later and finished my degree at Indiana State. But also financially, if you're teaching, you have to, if you're from New York, which is where I grew up, you had to get your master's within 5 years. If you
Really?
Yes. I don't know if that has changed, but you had to get your master's within 5 years if you wanted to continue to teach. So since I was teaching, my goal was to get my master's, although a lot of states don't require that. But that was my intent. I'm teaching, I got to get my master's.
So, Annmarie, because you keep telling me not to call you Miss Walters, what events do you have upcoming?
Right now, I had a very, very good season. We have 3 qualifiers for the World Championship. We typically is January, April, and our national championships in July. And this year, like I said, I did really well. I won all 3 this year. So I'm the first qualifier for the United States in the World Championships in Dubai this year. And that's going to be, I have the date October 13th in Dubai. So I'm starting to train for that now. I have about 6 weeks to get ready. And 2 years ago, I won the World Championships. That was in France. And then last year, I was second. They had the World Championships in Florida. I'm first and second in the world. My goal is always to win. My second goal is to get a medal. And then my third goal is to win the team events. So here we are.
I would like for you to expound on that, because most people's primary goal would be to win the medal. That's your secondary goal. Your primary goal is to win.
Right.
Expound on that.
Well, I mean, that's all athletes, whatever it is. We strive for the goal. We strive for the goal because that's the ultimate. So having been there twice already, I know what it feels like. I know what you have to train, mentally be ready to do that. So hopefully that your body and your mind is right at that place at that time so you can get through and get to your goal. The thing about fencing is, it like you said, it is so fast that things happen in seconds. So you could be winning, you might relax too much, they come back at you. So you have to be mentally ready for the whole period of time that you're fencing. And if you're in a good mental state and you're ready and you have your skills that you train for and can perform at that time, those are the ones that are going to be successful. Because you all have proper training, you all want the same goal. And I don't know what the difference is to get you to that goal, but I've done it twice and I'm sure trying to do it again.
What's your ranking?
Nationally, in my age group, because it goes by age group, I am number 1 in the ranking for the U.S. fencing. Worldwide, I think I'm number 2, because I didn't win last year. I was second. I was first the year before. I have my college teammate is my biggest rival right now. And we are good friends off the strip and enemies on the strip. She's probably 1 and I'm probably number 2 in the world because she won last year. It's going to be in Dubai. So usually when it's in Europe, it's attended more because a lot of the fences are from Europe. And so when it goes outside of Europe, the numbers go down because of maybe financially or politically, whatever they have that they don't want to go. But we'll see. I don't know what the numbers are yet. So typically we have under 32 people.
Clearly, you are extremely mentally tough and mentally prepared. You are competing against friends. You're on a world stage. You have longevity. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the mental aspects of that, mentally and emotionally. How do you cope with being on a world stage?
Being there, I don't take it any differently in terms of letting it get to my head. I mean, I'm there, I'm focused on me and the opponent. And really, you just got to block all that stuff out and you have to. The motivation from your coach, telling you can do it, motivating yourself, making sure that you can do it and you're mentally ready and prepared. You can't go fencing and get scared of your opponent. Forget it, that's a loss. So you have to have the determination and the will and that that you can do it and that you have to get that within yourself. You can't let everything out. I mean, it's so funny. Sometimes my coach, I tell you this, and I just block everybody out and everything out when I'm on that strip. I didn't hear you. Because I tune out everything. I don't know what to say. I tune out everything. It's me and zone and my opponent. That's what my focus and my laser is on that opponent. Everything else is blocked out.
So I see this in coaching a lot. I see a lot of coaches. For me, I don't think it even matters the sport, but they have a personality type and they try to wield that personality type on their student athletes. And it almost never happens. Do you see any of your students struggle with competition and fencing?
Oh, yes. Actually, we went to national championships and I have from our club, our young fencers, our young girls with fencing, and I see that they were not mentally ready. So I pulled them aside, spoke to them about, you've trained, you're ready, you got to be ready. You got to think you win. And if you doubt yourself and you're fencing, you're not going to win. You have to have that drive, determination for you to win. And if it's not there, it's not going to be successful. You have to want it, you have to own it, and you have to go for it.
I'm an athletic trainer by trade. Some people know that, some people don't. But when I was at UAPB, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, and when I was at Lawrence County High School, both teams won championships that year. I'm not going to mention the tool that we use because they're not sponsoring this interview, but we utilized a tool that really helped the athletes focus on their mental toughness and honestly just gave them tools to overcome mental and emotional and psychological pressures of competition. Were there any tools or resources that you would have recommended or have recommended to your student athletes to help them overcome mentally?
No, I don't. And I haven't used any of those things to help me mentally because I never really needed it. But basically self-motivation and the coach's motivation is what I have experienced with both. You know, you have to have it internally. You have your coach telling you what to do, pushing you. Those are the only tools that I have used actually, but I haven't used any outside reading or motivational coach or psychologist or anything to help me personally because I really didn't need it. Having kids fencing at such a young age now, like in our club, we started 7 years old, and to a little bit higher competition nationally and stuff. They tend to doubt themselves, although they have the skills to do it. So I think it's important to address it as part of the coaching for the young kids. I think I'm past that. I'm okay with that. But being young and going, so much stress from the parents, from the coaches, stresses upon themselves, that I think that having whatever tool, whether it's a psychologist or a program to help them or a mental coach to help them with that, I think it's very, very important nowadays.
I honestly think self-talk is important. That's one of the things that I've always pushed. And that's kind of one of the key themes that came out of some of the data that we've collected in some other interviews with athletes was that self-talk was very vital, whether positive or negative. What type of self-talk do you implement, or do you even implement self-talk in competition or preparation?
Self-talk and visualization, I guess, but visualizing, you know your opponent, you know what their tendency is, and you figuring out mentally what you have to avoid, what they are going to do to you. So visually, I know I got to do a specific action. I will do it with my hand, close my eyes, and try to figure out how to do it with my eyes closed, visualizing it, what I have to do. And of course, in the action, it changes because it's so fast, but at least mentally, you know what you should and shouldn't do according to specific opponents.
I have a quirky question all of a sudden, because you mentioned carnival.
That's my second love.
Who is your favorite soca artist?
Ooh, Masha Montano. All my family knows that.
Holy smokes.
I don't know how many times I've seen him perform. If he's here, they call me, Marshall is in town. Okay, I'm going.
That's a good one. Like, I was introduced to him a long time ago. Big Truck was the...
that's a long time ago. Yeah.
That was a nice pick.
And it's upbeat music. I love it.
So do you have any nuggets you would like to leave for our listeners and viewers?
Being an athlete is tough mentally. I mentioned before, your will and your want and your internal drive is what's going to make you successful. Your coach will tell you what to do, but if you don't want it, it's not going to come out. So I think you being mentally strong and have an internal drive for wanting the success that you're aiming for is really, really important.
Annmarie, thank you for being here today. Where can people connect with you online?
Well, I am on Facebook, very active on Facebook, Annemarie Walters. And if you put fencing, that would help on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram at ANNEMARITJ1 on Instagram. And those are the two places you can find me. I also wanted to add in one other point. I wanted to make sure that we say that the World Championship is in Dubai, and I will try to post a link on my Facebook pages and Instagram to see if you want to follow at that time. It's going to be definitely October 13th, and my goal is to win individual goal and team goal at the World Championships in Dubai.
Well, everyone, thank you for listening. I am Dr. LaKendra Red-Smith, Health Sector Director of Project Transition. I have had the utmost pleasure of interviewing Ms. Annmarie Walters. Check us out on our website at ptransition.org. Also check us out on our socials. Check out Ms. Annmarie on her socials as well. She's very popular on Instagram. Thank you all for listening.